Hi, I'm Amy Wilkins, leadership coach, former media exec, and your host of Thriving in the Messy Middle. This is a space for women leaders navigating those in between seasons, the moments when things feel uncertain, stretched, or messy, and you're trying to find your footing without losing yourself. Some episodes are conversations with remarkable women leaders sharing the lessons they've learned along the way. And other times, it's just you and me, slowing things down and naming what's really going on. Think of this as a place to reset, reflect, and reconnect with what matters most. Because thriving isn't about having it all figured out, it's about learning how to grow, lead, and move forward, even when things feel messy. Today's guest is someone I first crossed paths with during our time at Martha Stewart. And even then, I could tell that she was a force. Viktoria Degtar is a global commercial leader who has held senior roles across iconic media brands, including Time, Huffington Post, Martha Stewart Living, Omnimedia. She leads growth, transformation, and international expansion in moments that demanded both courage and clarity. Across her career, Victoria has led large global teams through disruption, navigating shifting markets, evolving business models, and the constant pressure to deliver results while staying true to a brand's purpose. And what stands out most to me isn't just where she's worked, but how she leads, with intention, conviction, and a deep understanding that purpose and performance are deeply connected. Vic, I'm so excited to have you share today, and I'm so excited just to see you and be with you right now. I would love to have you share anything that I just didn't share that you think is so important for our audience to hear.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I mean, it's so good to see you. It's been a minute.
Yes.
And be happier. And we finally made it happen, even though it's almost the end of the year and holidays. And I couldn't think of a better way to finish my year.
Oh, so good.
I think, look, from the professional perspective, I've been very lucky to be able to represent some of the bigger brands. And I started my career at Ziv Davis. I spent a lot of time at the Financial Times launching FT.com and then Bloomberg, Huffington Post, and now Time. It's been a journey. So from the professional perspective, it's been really interesting. You've covered it well. Thank you. Personally, I'm also a mom, a wife. I have two amazing boys who always keep me grounded. And if anyone ever tells you that there's a balance between work and home, they're lying through their teeth.
I love that you just said that because it is so true, right? Yeah, it's like we're either doing one thing really well or one or the other thing really well, and
Correct.
yeah, yeah, and you have to choose, right? There are times when, yeah. And where are you in the world? Share that.
I'm actually in London right now. I feel like I've been living in the air most of this year, but we currently live in London. We've been here for almost 10 years. What
Awesome.
started as a year or two journey at Bloomberg turned into a 10-year journey at London, and now I'm in Time.
S- So amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I would love to have you start out by sharing a messy moment in your career. I love to start here just because it's
yeah.
we all have them, right? And what you got from that time.
Sure. Look, I think if I look back at my career, every single job I was at had that moment of messiness, right?
Mm,
And I think instead of just going into one specific messy moment, I thought I'd start with what taught me the most.
I love
And
that.
surprisingly, I don't know if it's surprisingly or not, but for me, it's surprisingly because I've had a pretty incredible career and I'm so grateful. But where I would say I learned the most was my first job out of college, which I would never think that I would ever say because
Mm.
what do you know when you're just starting out of college? And I had the most incredible leader. I was at Ziv Davis. It was about 100 of us. And when he hired me right out of college, he basically said, only 20% of the people I'm going to hire are actually going to stay.
Mm.
And if you're going to stay, you're going to have an incredible future. If you're not, then this is not, sales is not for you. Mind you, I didn't even know I wanted necessarily be in sales. I was trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to be when I grow up. But what he did was he led with training. He led with creating an environment where we were learning all the time. We were competing, but yet we were all very friendly with each other. And we
Yeah.
all had a path to grow. So
Yeah.
there was always an opportunity. So creating that motivation was amazing. And first, it's I think the first time I realized how important it is when someone you admire and someone you look up to actually acknowledge you. And the way that he always motivated us to think bigger. And I will never forget that it was one of those times where he always told us to go back to basics. And by the way, I still do that. I still tell my teams that too, is when you're stuck and you don't know where to go back to basics. That's where I learned how to negotiate. That's when I learned how to talk to the most senior people that I ever had the privilege to speak to. Because my very first conversation with him, when he said, when you call a CEO and you're really nervous, what do you think they're going to say when they answer the phone? And everyone just started worrying about what am I going to say to make sound right. And he said, they're going to say hello. There's always a human on the other side.
We're gonna start there. Yeah. Yeah. So what felt messy about that for you? Because what I'm hearing is some beautiful acknowledgement of a leader that you were like, "Wow, this is somebody I'm gonna learn a lot from." Um
It was a lot of stressful learning because it was
Mm,
we needed to learn on the job. You needed to figure out how to navigate, and only 20% of the people that were hired that were gonna stay. So how do you stand out? How do you
yeah,
actually be your best self? And the one thing that I also learned, and that's I learned it at that job, but then I take it with me everywhere, is don't do the job you have, do the job you want.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I stopped asking for promotion. I just do the best thing that I can possibly do, and then if you have the right leader, they will recognize it.
They see that. Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
was, to me, I don't know if messy is the right word, but it was definitely a lot of learnings of how to navigate something that was really challenging.
That actually is. That is it can occur as messy because it's unfamiliar, and I think that's really what it is, right? When we're in an unfamiliar environment where we're being pressed or pushed or challenged in a new way that we've never been before. So that is a great example. I would love to also hear, oh, and by the way, I've actually heard about that I remember hearing about that training program years ago.
Brutal.
Yeah.
People were throwing up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I do. I know yeah, I know people who've been through that. I'd love to hear if there were any others that stand out for you, especially as you were growing as a leader, really challenged you.
Sure. Look, again, I think there was a number. I think one of the ones that really stand out, and I'm going to preference it by saying I work for a lot of big personalities. I worked for Mike Bloomberg. I worked for Ariana Huffington. I'm working for Mark Benioff. They're big personalities, but I think the one that stands out in my mind is the one that you and I both were privileged enough to be a part of, which is Martha Stewart.
Yeah,
And that's actually the one that I always reference that I think after Martha, I can pretty much take anything. That was a challenging place, it was a challenging time, it was a challenging space,
yeah,
and navigating that was really challenging because we were navigating a situation where Martha was trying to figure out what is her legacy gonna be, whether she's staying, whether
right,
she's going, what happens if she's not part of the company, but the company's under her name, while we needed to still figure out how to sell all of the properties that she owned and
right.
promote it. And it was challenging. And then we were also at that time really going digital. Where some senior leaders, if you recall, within our organization asked me if digital is a thing. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, yeah,
That's when my one of my favorite quotes was, I use it quite a bit by Churchill, if you're going through hell, keep going.
yeah, yeah. That's a great one. I love that. What did you take away from that as you moved into new leadership roles? What did you take with you?
That you need a really good, solid sounding board around you. And I think what I've gotten also out of Martha is some incredible friends that I've had carried with me through my health career. from Jackie Kelly to Janet Bayless to Christine Cook, who is still my very close and dear friends. It always, and Jackie would always tell you this, it always takes a village. And when you get to a certain position, when you get to a certain point, you need to have that group of people that you can always talk to, whether it's just bounce ideas or just pick you up, because you don't always have the best days, but you always have to be and show up for your team. So
Yeah.
having that
I
core group of people that
yeah.
you can always call any day, any night, any weekend, and they'll always
Yeah.
answer is really important.
It's so great. And we call that, right, our personal board of directors, or I like to call it my tribe, right? The people that, will tell us the truth, maybe push us, but also cheer us on, remind us who we are, which
Correct.
is so helpful. Yeah.
So
So,
that's what I learned from
yeah.
Martha, but I would just say if you were to think about some of the bigger challenges, disruptions that kinda happen in my career, I would also say COVID, and I was a time I just started
Mhm.
and the world shut down, and the
Yeah.
expectations were through the roof, but it was really challenging to deliver on those. And how do you get close to the team that is still relatively new? And I think
Yes.
that was something that I started where I realized that you really need to get to know not just people that report to you, but every single person on your team on every level. First of all, I'm a huge believer that a good idea can come from anything and anywhere on any level.
Mhm.
So I will always find time to talk to everyone within an organization. Always. I would never say no. Comes to my own detriment because then I'll run out of time. But I always say, and being able to learn from a lot of people on my team, that was really important. But then by the time we were done with COVID and we had our daily meetings and we all were in each other's living rooms, bedrooms, kids, families, you get to know each other really well. We were ready to go. And what I realized is that if you want to make a change, if you want to make a big difference, then you need to take some big swings. And we started launching big ideas, big projects, and we weren't nervous about it because if you either fail big or you go home.
Yeah. Take a big swing or forget about it. But it sounds like the reason that was even possible was the way you showed up as a leader, like coalescing the team and having them even get to know who you are as a leader, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Because
Uh,
none of that happens without that.
you need, for me, you always need to be a human being, right? And you need to be always mindful of people around you and get to know every single person is motivated different. Every single person
Yeah,
has different needs. And when we were thinking about what we want to do and we had a plan, my quote of the period of COVID was Mike Tyson's, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face.
that's right.
And that's
Yeah,
because we literally had to pivot every day to something
yeah,
different.
yeah.
It
That
was
was definitely a
crazy.
punch in the face.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Now, you have led through disruption in the past, right? So that was a disruption that was created externally. But there are things happening in the industry right now, and you have certainly been part of different phases of disruption. What's different about what's happening now, the industry? Is there anything that you're seeing?
I would say there's more disruption right now.
Yeah.
And I would
I didn't
also
wanna put those words in your mouth, but yeah,
there's
right.
more, I think, than ever before, and
Yeah,
it's not always a bad thing, right? Because I feel like our industry goes through cycles, and there's whether it was a dot-com boom or AI boom, or there's always gonna be something, and it has to happen, right? Because
yeah,
that's
right.
what changes us, that's what makes us think differently. That's where
Mhm.
brands, publishers, media companies, doesn't matter what company it is, but you have to adjust, adapt, or you're behind.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think right now, and everyone is going to have to put their kind of best foot forward because if you don't, it's not, you're not surviving.
No, that's right. And how are you supporting your team around this? Are they experiencing any being concern about the disruption?
I mean, we definitely are looking, AI is definitely one of those things that everyone is talking about. And for us, we are leaning in fully. And for us, it's how do we educate the team? It's
Mhm.
more about how do we use AI to be better? How do we
Yeah.
use AI to make sure that it gives us more tools? We have some incredible people on our team that actually understand it and can help. It's not about people losing their jobs, it's about making them perform that much better because of all the tools that are available to them. So we're more about training and leaning in.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And I am hearing a lot about that across the industry that there is a whole new focus in learning and development that's all about AI and how to use it to augment and support what you do so you can do even more faster, better. Yeah, which is a good thing for sure.
And go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, in the end of the day, if you're feeling uncomfortable, you're probably exactly where you need to be.
Ah, I love that you just said that because so much of messy, right? Because this can occur as messy right now, but so much of messy means growth is coming. And if we can read that tea leaf and say, wow, it's a signal that I'm about to see some breakthroughs.
100%. It's, you can't confuse complexity with progress,
Yeah.
but understanding where we are, where we need to go is really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, definitely. Are there any things that you do to support yourself when things are particularly hectic and perhaps messy? I know you mentioned your posse,
I would
right?
say
Your
that. I would
yeah.
say talking to them, but also sometimes you just need to disconnect and
Mm,
go to a place that grounds you, and I think there's no better people that ground me than my children.
I totally understand and appreciate that. Do you have any other advice that you would want to share with somebody who might be in a leadership role, navigating something messy right now? Anything else that you haven't maybe shared?
I would say never expect perfection or certainty. It rarely arrives and it's rarely perfect. You have to build your own perfection. Always have a goal and try to figure out how to get to it. Um, I would say back to what I was saying, when you're struggling with something, go back to basics. Think about why businesses are built, why you do the things you do. Always think about what are people thinking about you on the outside and how do you want to show up? Because that will give you a lot more than you realize. And communication is huge. Over communicate, especially in the times of uncertainty, especially in the times of messiness. Over communicating is huge because you have, to me, trust and loyalty with your team is the most important thing. And I always say that.
Yeah.
And just like I expect it, I give it. And so I will always over communicate. I will always do my best to make sure everyone knows exactly what's going on. Obviously, to a point of the things that I can share, but I always make sure that communication is there and clear.
That does remove a lot of tension when people feel like they're hearing at least what they know probably you can't say everything, but when they know that you're saying as much as you can and
And you don't know
keeping
it.
people
I would say the one thing that I always, when I was younger, I always thought I always had to have all the answers because I'm the leader and I always had to know everything. And it's just not the case. And you don't need to have all the answers, but you need to be able to have momentum and you need to be able to have the ability to navigate through things and rely on people that are around you to help you come up with solutions and answers. It doesn't always have to be you.
Yes, it doesn't have to be you. When you think you're the only one who knows everything, it's a very lonely place.
Correct. I always try to hire people that are smarter than me. Always,
Yeah,
always.
yeah. That way we keep learning, right? That's how it works. Oh,
Always.
yeah. What is a leadership belief that you maybe had to let go of along the way?
I think it's that one, the fact that I had to have all the answers. That was to me
That's
the big
it?
one because it was something that I always thought when I get to a certain point, I have to know everything because
Yeah.
everyone looks up to you to have all the answers. And it's definitely something. And I guess the other one is that the future is completely unpredictable. And just when going back to Mike Tyson's quote, you really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you can plan, but you always need to learn how to pivot quickly. And
Yeah.
no matter how big the organization is, being able to pivot, being able to think quickly on your feet. If it doesn't go the way you planned, there has to be always a plan B.
Yeah.
There always
It's like
is.
being adaptable, right? Yeah. Flexible, adaptable. Somebody once shared with me, like, the only thing that is certain is uncertainty.
Correct.
Right? We can pretty much count on that being
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
And what is that? The
That's
only
right.
constant is change.
Yeah. The only constant is change. Same. Exactly. Oh, I love it. What's something that you're genuinely excited about before we wrap?
What am I genuinely excited about? I would have to say right now, I'm probably in the best job I've ever had in my career because of what we're building, because of what we're doing, because of the impact time is making. And I now get to
Mm.
go to places I've never been to, meet people, most incredible people all over the world, from Africa to Middle East to India and to Asia is just really have been incredible. And next year we're doing more new events. And some again, one of the things that is born out of when you don't know what to do next is this brilliant idea when we launched Time 100 Impact in Dubai, and it was incredible. And we
I
launched it
saw
in
that.
2 months' time originally. It was 4 or 5 years ago, right after pandemic, and it turned into one of the best things that I've ever done. And we just keep building on it. And now we're doing it in different parts around the world and leading with purpose, leading with impact and meeting all these incredible people, that's what I'm really excited about.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And of course, I do follow everything that you're doing. So
Thank
it's always fun to see, where's Vic?
you. I have
Where's
to
she
check
now?
internally too.
Where in the world is Vic? Yeah,
Exactly.
that's the game I play with myself. Yeah. I'm gonna just wrap us up right now because I have to just say, Vic, it's so good to be with you and to hear the wisdom
So
that you shared. I think that what you are demonstrating is really what it looks like to lead through uncertainty. Like being that leader that is in constant communication, not afraid to be surrounded by people who know more than you, and keeping those people that you rely on to keep you grounded close to you. And then taking that break with those kids, right? To pause. So thank you so much for being with us
thank
today.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening today. I hope something you heard gave you a little clarity, or maybe just a sense that you're not alone in this season. The messy middle isn't something we pass through once. It shows up again and again, and each time we meet it with a bit more awareness, a bit more choice, and a lot more self trust. If this episode resonated, follow the show so you don't miss what's next. And if someone came to mind while listening, share it with them. That's how this community grows. You'll find links and resources in the show notes and more ways that we can work together at chooseaw.com. And I'll leave you with this reminder: you are the most worthwhile project you will ever work on. So until next time, keep thriving, even in the messy middle.